Good morning, everyone. I'm back to playing with my Princeton Filbert brush. And let's see, this is a number 8. Found this in my brushes, so I'm not sure where I got this from. I don't remember seeing Princeton with a blue handle. Anyway, the color I will be playing with, I'm going to go ahead and spray my palette, is Winsor Newton Opera Rose, and I'll be using a little bit of probably cad yellow. So here's that Opera Rose. We all know that color, so pretty. And then I'm going to be using, let's see, let me get some cad yellow here. One second, there we go. I just love those two colors together. I think they're so pretty. I will probably also blend in a little bit of yellow ochre, I think, just because it tones down that yellow a little bit. Sometimes that yellow can be kind of bright, so I'll add in a little bit of yellow ochre for that. And then, of course, my go-to colors for my stems and things are always a mix of sap and olive green. Sap green is just a little bit bright for me, so I just add in a little bit of that olive green. And then as I'm sitting here looking at this, I might just use a touch of orange in here too. I just think these three colors go so well together. They're so pretty. So that right there, I think, will be my color palette. I feel like I want this to warm up a little bit, but let's see how that goes. I may end up using mostly the golds and that cad orange. And then with this Filbert brush, one of the things I really love about this brush is it does such a good job with petals, and you can use it on its side, or you can get a really wide brush stroke. Let me show you here. Let me get some paint on my brush. So, let me move my paper here. You can get, if you're using it, the flat part, you can really widen it out and then draw into a point like that, which can make some really pretty petal shapes. And then you can also use it on its side like that to create some different thin brush strokes. So I like that versatility in it, of being able to use it both ways like that. I think that's really pretty. And then I will be playing a lot today with the wet and wet technique. So coming in with some things like that. Now I'm using my brush on its side, resting my wrist, light pressure, point, and then begin flattening out my brush and back to a point. So I really do like the versatility of this brush. I love these little comma type things. I think they make perfect little brush strokes like that. So using the side, pressing in and drawing up to the side again. I think that makes a perfect little leaf. So if you want to maybe stop the video and practice a few of these, and then using your brush to the side, I think that will get you warmed up nicely. You could even practice some thin brush strokes. like this, and maybe practice some thin, thick, thin, getting used to turning your wrist for those. Like that. Okay? So the other thing I want to do today too is after I go in and put kind of this lighter value, I want to go over that with a darker value, so more paint and point press, just coming in a little bit, and it kind of defines some of the closer up petals, adds a little interest, like that. So it gives that depth. It right away, when I add in that darker value, these petals here kind of pop out front. All right, so with that said, I'm gonna set that to the side, and let's go ahead and paint. Or you can watch, whichever you feel like doing today. Okay, we're gonna go in. I'm not exactly gonna paint that little flower you just saw me paint. I'm going to paint something a little bit different here, but using the same type of brush strokes. So getting some of that Opera Rose in my palette here, running out of room, need to clean my palette. There's that Opera Pink. Now I just put it into this well that actually has a little bit of green in it, so hopefully that doesn't darken up my Opera Rose. When I'm working wet and wet, I like to have my paints ready to go, because otherwise by the time you get some of paint in your palette, your painting may have dried. So there's my orange, I've got the yellow there, my Opera Rose, and let's go ahead and get some green. So mixing my sap and my olive green, about out of my Winsor Newton olive green, so I'm gonna have to get some more of that. There we go. So that will be our leaves. Alrighty, so we are ready. I've got my 2 wash containers, my wash container actually, and my rinse. And then this is just a student grade 140 pound cold press. Okay, let's go ahead and paint and play with some flowers here. Just getting a little bit of paint on my brush. I'm loading it up fairly well. It's got that tea consistency, but then I'm just tapping off on the side. And you can always, if you're not sure you have too much paint, just dab off on your paper towel, and then let's get started. These are going to be some really simple flowers, but I think they're really fun. So I'm using, whoops, let me scoot down a bit here. I'm flattening out my filbert and turning it so it comes in, and just helping it create that little point there, like that. Okay, so that's my first petal, middle petal, and then using the side of my brush to come down. So like I said, these are really simple little flowers. Again, I'm using widening out and then turning to the side. So it's just these little 3 petals here, and then I might, this is another brush stroke with this brush I really like. If you turn it on its side, you can get some really fun little teardrop shapes that I really like. And actually, while it's wet, I rinsed my brush, and I'm gonna go in with a little bit of that yellow with a touch of that gold yellow ochre. And while it's wet, I want to just touch in on a couple branches, because I want to get it to kind of blend, which I love, just like that. And again, while it's wet, I'm going to wash and rinse my brush and go into that gold. So like I said, this is really one of the reasons I like this brush is it's very versatile. You can use it this way and get that wide brush stroke. You can use it on its side this way, and you can use it this way. So let's go in here. As you know, I love my wet and wet, so I want to get that blend. And then look at the thin line I'll be able to get here. Very light pressure. There you go. All right, so isn't that pretty? The only thing I feel I might want to add here is maybe a touch of, let's see, I actually just dipped into my laying, which is Rose Madder, and I might just want to do that. Yeah, kind of like that. And let that blend. Just giving some different shades, darks, lights. All right, let's go on to our second flower. And again, let me show you real quick these different brush strokes I just kind of went through. So you've got this beautiful brush stroke. Let me grab some paint here. Let's see here. So you've got this brush stroke, okay, with the Filbert, which because of the little bit of angle, it almost creates a natural petal. Now, if you turn it at the end, just twist it, it kind of thins out. The other brush stroke is to the side like this. So you can get these little dashes, and if you turn it to the side completely, you can get these really great little petal type shapes, which are really pretty as extras around your flowers. They're great little fillers, something like that. Okay, so that is the different strokes, and then of course you can get those fine lines for your stems. So let's go back to our flower here. I'm using a really inexpensive paper, so that's why I'm getting some funky little blooms and things, but you know what? These are flowers, so I don't mind that. And then let's go in right here and create another flower. So using the wide part of my brush, I'm going to do something like this, and then I always like to bring my petals to a little point like that. There we go. And again, using the side of the brush, you can really get some fun little easy teardrop type shapes. Now I'm going to go into that rather quickly with my green using this side of my brush and get a stem going before it gets too dry. Wash and rinse my brush, go into that yellow with a little bit of gold in it. There we go. Tap off. Or you can always tap on your paper towel if you think you might have too much water, and just touching in here and there. Let it kind of blend. There you go. Okay. And we can go back in if we want. I'm washing and rinsing my brush. And go into a darker value of that Rose Madder and just tap in there as well. I just love these colors together. I think they're so beautiful. I could paint with them all day long. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit more green because I want to see that spread a little bit more. So I went in with just a little bit more of a version, wet version. So there you go. Look how pretty that is. So I've got 2 flowers. If we're working with our rule of odds, which I like to, I want to leave, do at least 3 or 5 flowers. Maybe we'll do 5 today. So let's go in one more time, picking up some more of that Winsor Newton Opera Rose and going to water it down a little bit so it has a light color value. And maybe we'll do one. So I've got this here, maybe one right here. Again, using the side of my brush. Something like that. There we go. And going to quickly, before it dries, wash, rinse my brush and pick up some of that green. There we go. And go right in and get that stem. There we go. Okay. Now before this dries, I know I'm going a little quicker today, but with the wet on wet, sometimes you want to do that so you get these beautiful bleeds. And I'm just touching in very intuitively. Okay. Now I'll pick up the darker value of that Opera Rose and touch in. Just adding some really pretty different hues and values. I haven't used that cad orange yet. I feel like we need another one right here. So going again into my Opera Rose. Oh, I'm looking at a little bird that landed on my windowsill here, called a black Phoebe. And let's go in here. I'm working very watery actually too. There we go. And see that beautiful, how I can do those teardrops. That's one of the reasons I think I really love this brush the most. Going into that yellow, just touching in. And then before it dries, wash and rinse my brush. And let's pick up some of that beautiful sap and olive green. And touch in and let it spread. There we go. Okay. So there's a little grouping of flowers. I think those are really pretty. I feel like I could even go in with some yellow because there's yellow in the flower, and bring that into the petals, I mean the stems there. Okay. Let's do a few leaves. So I'm picking up that green, point press, and you could even do point press, those little dabs here if you wanted. Point, press, point, something like that. Those would be really the easiest leaves. Something like that. I always like to vary the size of my leaves, just for that interest and of course the value. So I'm adding in some darker ones and then pointing them in different directions. Point, press. Maybe one's pointing downwards. There we go. And then I'll go in and let's create maybe a little bud here. So I'm going back into that opera rose and just going to do a little bud. Something like that. And then add some green to the bottom. Now making sure you're always tapping off your brush if you think you might have too much water. And I'm going to use the side of my brush and just tap in. Just like that. Add some little leaves. So aren't those colors beautiful? We could go in here, let's see. I think we've got some really great values here, so I don't feel like I need to add anything else. Yeah, I like the values here. I feel like this one I want to add, I'm not sure if I like all this white space, so I think what I might do is go in and grab my opera rose and create a petal in front here. So point, press, and bring it down. Yeah, I think I kind of like that. Felt like I wanted to have a little bit more there. Point, press, like that. Yeah, I like that. Do that the same on some of these. I think that adds some fun interest. I typically always will go back into my paintings and see if I need some darker and lighter values. I think that makes a big difference. And then maybe this one, add in a tiny bit of that yellow, like that. There we go. What would be really fun here too is if you wanted to revisit those metallics. I don't think I do have them here. That would be really fun. I just happen to have them here, these philosophy. Let's just play with that a little bit. Pick up some of that pink or even the gold. Now I may ruin it here, but let's see. Yeah, I kind of like that. Let's try the gold and rinse my brush here. See what that looks like. That might add some pop here, huh? Ooh, yeah, look at that. That's really pretty. I like that. Just here and there, touching in. Yeah, that's really, really pretty. Wash and rinse my brush and pick up. Now I have to be careful here because I don't want to overwork, which I can do. Sometimes I just don't want to stop with my paintings. I'm having so much fun. And I really do love these philosophy. I feel like this is kind of getting too blended into one, so I'm going to add some of this pink. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's pretty. So you could have stopped right where I did there. If you don't have these metallics, I'll list the metallics in the bottom if you like. And look how pretty that is. The last thing I'm going to do here is just add in some lighter value leaves. So I take my sap and olive green and water it down and point, press, just like that. And that adds that interest that I always like, that contrast. There we go. Kind of push and pull. So there you go. I think I'm going to leave this as it is. I don't want to get too much overworking this, but look at how beautiful these colors are. And these would have been beautiful without these metallics too, but those just always add such a fun pop to your paintings. So I hope you give this a try using your Filbert brush. I love that Filbert brush for all the strokes it can give you. Makes flowers very, very easy, and they're a lot of fun. All right, everyone, so happy painting, and I will link everything below. Thank you.